Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by Bell Tire. Well, it may only be late April, but as early season showdowns go, put this one at the top of your list. Tonight, the top two teams in the Central Division get together on a gorgeous night for baseball here in Kansas City. Welcome to Kauffman Stadium, Game 1 in this four-game series featuring the Tigers and the defending AL champion, Kansas City Royals. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Tigers Baseball. Mario and Pemba alongside Rod Allen. Glad to have you with us. This should be a fun 4 days, Rod. You've got two of the top teams in all of baseball, really. You've got great weather this weekend. Should be some fun.
You know, of all the teams that we get a chance to cover in this great gig that we have, I love covering the Kansas City Royals. They're athletic. They've got power, team speed. They can do a lot of things, and they play the Tigers tough for the most part. All
right, now how about Alfredo Simon? He'll get the call tonight. A perfect 4-0 on the season. Simon really hasn't been tested this year. He may get a test tonight.
Well, he's been filthy. That's for sure. And the one thing that he has been able to do, he's moved his fastball all around the strike zone with a lot of effectiveness. He can command the fastball about 94, but really it's the split-fingered fastball and the slow curveballs and the eephus pitch that he features that's allowed him to put up some eye-popping numbers. Alfredo Simon has punched out 15 this year. He's only walked 4. And look at the right-handers. Right-handers are only 1 for 22 against them. I'm looking forward to him going out there tonight and the Tigers going out and playing a really good game against a really good team in Kansas City.
All right, now what have the Royals done well this season? Well, just about everything. I mean, this is a ball club that has hit the baseball, that has pitched the baseball. We know all about their speed and their defense, but when you total all of the numbers up, this is really how impressive the Royals have been this year. They've won 14 games this season. They lead the major leagues in average. They have a bullpen that is certainly locked down, and they've also added a piece this year, Rod, and Kenrys Morales, who has kind of lengthened their lineup.
You know, this is a totally different team than the Tigers played up against last year, and the reason for that is they went to the World Series and they lost the World Series to the Giants in 7 games. But Moustakas, he really grew up last year in the postseason with his home runs. Kane really grew up. Gordon is stellar. Hosmer's a really good player. They've got good pitching. This team grew up in the postseason. It's the main reason why they're performing so well right now. They believe they can beat anybody.
All right, fasten your seatbelt. This should be fun the next 4 days. After a short break, we'll send you back to the Call Sam Studios. Check in with Johnny Kane. Coming up in this one tonight, though, how about Miguel Cabrera? 2 long home runs in yesterday's win in Minnesota. Miggy and the Tigers taking on the Royals next. Set to start things off for the Tigers. Their lineup tonight presented by the Southeast Michigan Ford dealers. It'll be Davis, Kinsler, and Cabrera at the top. Victor Martinez, your DH tonight. J.D. Martinez in right, Cespedes in left, followed by Castellanos, McCann, and Iglesias. And they are facing the left-handed offerings of Danny Duffy.
Duffy's got a big arm. His fastball will get up to 97 miles an hour. He's got a curveball that he likes to use against the left-handers and the right-handers. He also has a change and a slider, part of his 4-pitch mix.
There's our first pitch tonight. It's a strike called on Rajai Davis. We are underway in a gorgeous night here in KC. Big crowd filing in. Supposed to have really good crowds Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here as Davis looks at a ball inside at low, 1-1. Rajai off to a 3-0-4 start this year with 1 home run and really cleaning up against left-handed pitching at .333 this year. Duffy, the hard-throwing lefty, brings home the 1-1. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Davis.
Duffy's already had a couple of starts here at Kauffman Stadium, and he hasn't pitched very well. 7 earned runs in 10 innings pitched, the ERA at 6.30 here at home.
Salvador Perez, the big catcher behind the dish tonight for the Royals. And Rajai looks at a ball that just missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Davis.
Already Duffy up to 97 miles an hour in this contest. He's out there. He's fired up too.
Danny Duffy is 26 years old, out of Lompoc, California. Here's the 2-2. And Rajai shoots one to center field on a line. It's going to be caught, though, by Lorenzo Cain.
Let's take a look at the Kansas City Royals starting defense. It's brought to you by Tim Hortons, and it's an outstanding defense. In the outfield, they've got tremendous speed and athleticism with Gordon, Kane, and Dyson. At the shortstop position today is Colon. Alcides Escobar was hit in the face last night, and he's not starting at shortstop, but the big guy, Salvador Perez, behind the plate, has already caught 8 runners trying to steal this year.
Here is Ian Kinsler now for the Tigers with 1 out. Just underway from KC this evening. Game 1 of 4 between these two teams. And Kinsler looks at strike 1.
Nice little bender there thrown by Duffy. He's already mixing in all of his pitches here in the very first inning.
Ian batting .292, 10 RBIs in search of his first home run. Duffy works at home, and it's swung on and missed.
So we've seen the fastball get up to already 97. We saw a really good curveball at about 81 miles an hour. Then we see the changeup on that last pitch.
He's showing everything he has early on in this game. He's got 0-2 now on Kinsler. And shoots that one in the air, foul down the right field line. Tigers check in tonight at 15-7, a half game better than the Royals in the American League Central Division. Kinsler gets a new bat. He cracked that last one. Here's the big fella waiting on deck, Miguel Cabrera, sporting a .370 batting average.
How about his game yesterday? Nearly hit 3 home runs, missed from hitting a home run out to right field by an eyelash in the second at bat yesterday.
Special day for Cabrera, special player. There's a line drive to right, but it's going to be caught by Gerard Dyson. 2 up, 2 down, a couple of fly balls. And that brings us to the Bernstein advantage, the pitcher batter matchup. We're going to go Cabrera here at Kauffman Stadium in the Bernstein advantage, and Miggy certainly has it. .321 lifetime in this yard with 12 home runs. And he will bat here just the way the Royals want him to bat, with nobody on. Cabrera has 5 homers this year, which leaves him 5 shy of 400 for his career. And that march continues. A couple of homers in yesterday's ball game. And it's not that Cabrera hit 2 home runs yesterday. It's where he hit them. In the second deck in left field at target field, and then to dead center field. Massive power.
And as I mentioned just a second ago, he nearly hit another home run to right field yesterday. So he'd have had 3.
That would have been something to each part of the ballpark had he had done that. But fell a little bit shy. He had a double.
Command usually an issue for Danny Duffy, but he's already 3 of 3 in first pitch strikes here in the first inning.
Here's the 1-1. 1-2 on Miggy. We have seen some teams play the shift on against Cabrera to the left side of the infield. The Royals, however, are different, pretty much straight up on the infield. No shift involved here. Different teams have different numbers and different philosophies. Here's the 1-2. Ooh, just missed. What's Miggy doing?
He wants him to check with the first base umpire. The home plate umpire said, I saw it, you didn't swing.
It's almost like he's begging for a strike. 2-2 on Cabrera. He was called a ball by C.B. Buckner. Now the 2-2. That's low. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Again, 97 from Duffy. He's got a high octane fastball. We've seen that early on in this game as Victor waits on deck. And Cabrera takes a ball inside. Mickey, that's ball 4. Again, he was pointing down to first base. Why, I'm not sure.
That walk for me pretty much by design by Danny Duffy. They know that Miguel Cabrera is on fire right now. He homered twice yesterday. He nearly left the building 3 times. Victor Martinez, however, not swinging the bat all that effectively as of yet. Danny Duffy basically pitched around Miguel Cabrera there.
Yeah, and that's become, I think, a little bit more commonplace now when you look at what Victor has been going through in terms of trying to get healthy again. The average right now is at 213, so he's not the Martinez that we saw last year, at least not yet. And he shoots one back up the middle and says, take that.
And now he's asking for trouble because the guy stepping to the dish right now, he wore out Kansas City Royals pitching last year.
Well, we mentioned it's a great night for baseball here. The field conditions are presented by Ace Hardware and the Scotts Company tonight at KC, and it looks like this. 72 degrees at game time. Really very little humidity. It is clear, blue skies, and Tigers and Royals going at it.
I was talking to Don Wakamatsu, who is the bench coach for Ned Yost, and nearly got the Tampa Bay Rays job. He was the runner-up to the finalist that got that job. Don was talking about Salvador Perez and just how much of a leader he is and just how talented he is. And he said he's even better this year than he has been the last couple of years.
Not sure that was possible.
They got to give him a blow. I told Don, you guys are going to run him to the ground. You play the kid every day.
No doubt. He played every day during the postseason as well. So here is JD, who stands in with 6 home runs, 4th in the American League. Early scoring chance for Detroit. And Martinez looks at ball 1.
Duffy pitched around Miguel Cabrera, and Victor Martinez got a base hit, and now he has to deal with this. And this is what JD Martinez did against Royals pitching last year.
5 home runs, 5 doubles.
Is that good?
That's good. So is the 446 average. It's pretty good, too. Here's the 1-0. Out in front of the off-speed pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's a real nice change piece there thrown by Duffy. And he's going to need that pitch against some of these right-handers like Cespedes and also JD Martinez. And really the changeup is designed just to get the hitter off balance. You give him 4-seam fastball grip. You give him 4-seam action out of the same window, but you just pull the string on him.
That one is laced foul to third base. 1 ball and 2 strikes on JD Martinez. A couple of quick outs on fly balls, but then the walk to Cabrera, the single by Martinez. And the Tigers would like to strike early. They've been a really good first inning team in terms of scoring runs. They've been among the best in the American League.
If JD Martinez does hit the ball to left field, Miggy will not score. I don't think Dave Clark would challenge the arm of Alex Gordon in left field.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and JD Martinez will leave a couple of runners on. First strike out of the ballgame for Duffy. Here come the Royals. Alfredo Simon, presented by Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Well, he's been outstanding this year. Well, sensational, really. 4-0 with a 1.65 ERA. Fastball moves all around the strike zone, anywhere from 90 to 94. But it's his secondary pitches that have really been baffling the American League hitters.
Here's the lineup for the Royals, presented tonight by the Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. And for KC, it's Gordon, Moustakas, Kane at the top, Hosmer batting cleanup. Kendrys Morales has been a really good addition to their lineup. Perez is catching, and they have Infante, Dyson, and Colon in the bottom three spots. So here we go. Alex Gordon is batting in the leadoff spot now. Gordon batting .290, has hit well against right-handed pitching, .343, and he looks at ball one outside. Gordon had wrist surgery in the offseason. They say now that he's starting to really round into shape. That wrist has become more sound as April has gone on. And Simon misses outside, 2-0.
I noticed Castellanos is playing in front of the bag at third base. I can't ever remember any third baseman crowding Gordon the way that Castellanos is. He has not bunted a whole lot against us.
Here's the 2-0 pitch. Missed it high, 3-0. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's some data to support that or something. A nick on the grass. But it's gone 3-0 on Gordon. They do play slightly to pull. Simon ready with the 3-0. And Gordon looks at a strike, 3-1.
Yeah, the base on balls have been no issue this year for Simon.
Here's the 3-1. And there's another strike, 3-2. Alcides Escobar is typically their leadoff hitter, but Gordon bumped up with Escobar out of the lineup, at least for tonight. They are going to check him out again tomorrow after he was hit in the head by a pitch from Danny Salazar. The 3-2. The strike three called. He got him looking, and Gordon doesn't like it.
I guess it's going to be one of those nights tonight. Simon fell behind Gordon, 3 balls, no strikes, and he came back with 3 straight fastballs. The last one borderline, but called a strike by C.B. Buckner.
What a pitch. Gordon thought he had ball 4. So here is what has been a pleasant surprise for the Royals this year, Mike Moustakas. Right, he's batting .353, and we've been waiting for the past couple of years to see when he would finally put it all together.
Yeah, he's been balling. And not only offensively, but on both sides of the ball. He's driving the ball the opposite way. He even has a home run to left field. But you can see the Tigers aren't buying into the newfound success as of yet regarding Moustakas. They still play him to pull.
He's showing bunt, and he lays one down to third. Will it stay fair? It will.
That's his 3rd bunt base hit of the season. He's playing with a lot of confidence right now.
And that'll bring out the Moose chance here in KC.
And when you bunt and there's really nobody there, you can bunt it as hard as you want to. You don't have to worry about deading it. You want to make sure you get it past the pitcher. 3rd bunt base hit of the season for Moustakas.
So his good start continues. The first base runner of the game for KC. Now the number 3 hitter, Lorenzo Cain.
Cain is emerging as their leader on the team. The only question regarding him was health, and he stayed healthy and for the most part last year. But he really grew up in the postseason.
Year after year, you could see the physical skills that Lorenzo Cain had, but as you mentioned, the injuries had slowed him. And he is batting 3rd in what has been a really good lineup. Cain last year hit .333 in the postseason for KC in their march to the World Series.
He was the MVP in the American League Championship Series. It was fun watching these Royals last year in October, I have to admit it.
Yeah, they got on a roll.
That's what you have to do to Cain. You show him fastballs inside, and then you throw that really good slider at about 87 from the same window and the same arm speed, and you can get a swing and miss. That's about as good a slider as you can throw right there.
1 ball, 1 strike on Lorenzo Cain. 1 on, 1 out. We're in the first with no score. Swing and a miss.
Back-to-back slide pieces thrown by Mr. Simon. Same result. What they say? Location, location, location.
In pitching and in real estate. 1-2. Simon has allowed only 2 runs in his last 3 starts, which covers 22 innings. Low and outside that time. Kane would not go fishing. The big pasta, as they call him. There's Hosmer waiting on deck. Royals have players all over the offensive charts this year. .338 for Kane is good for 8th in the American League in hitting. Now the 2-2. Foul tip into the glove for strike 3. Kane is out.
Let's take a look at the Tigers starting defense presented by Beaumont Health System. Cespedes, Davis, J.D. Martinez in the outfield, Iglesias, Kinsler up the middle, Castellanos, Cabrera on the corners, James McCann is their catcher. He threw him 4 straight sliders to finish him off.
Boy, did he. Kane no match there, and so here is Eric Hosmer with 2 outs.
Actually, that last pitch might have been the cut fastball, and that's the pitch that Simon uses quite a bit to the right-handed batters. Right-handers are now 1 for 23 this season against Simon. 1 for 23.
It's almost getting to the point where you really can't tell the difference between a cut fastball and a slider.
Good point. Good point.
Those are really close. Same result, though. They've got the shift on for Hosmer, as you see. And he takes ball 1 away.
That's the first splitter that he's thrown today at 83.
Hosmer has hit safely in his last 3, batting over 300 as well, .313. Just about everybody in their lineup has a healthy batting average, and many of them over 300. We've got 5 guys over 300 in their lineup. Simon missed again away, and the count goes 2-0. James McCann getting the start again in this one here today. And he may become integral in this game with all the speed that KC has. They haven't been running as much as last year, but they've got some guys that can run.
Yeah, the Tigers have more stolen bases than Kansas City Royals. How about that?
Hard to believe. It bounces in. Nice stop by McCann. 3-0. I was talking to Brad before the game about McCann and how he has progressed, and even James is saying, you know, I'm getting they're not shaking me off as much as they used to, so I'm getting used to pitch sequences and what our pitchers like to throw and what counts. And Ausmus, who did it for 18 years in the major league, says he's coming along quite well. 3-0 on Eric Hosmer. And he lost it, ball 4. 2-out walk. And it'll put runners at first and second. Hey, by the way, stay tuned for Tigers Live. Following the game, we will select the Fox Sports Detroit Tigers Player of the Game, presented by the 2 for $5 Classic Quarter Pounder with cheese. So each team has had a scoring opportunity in the first as Kendrys Morales stands in.
He pretty much has taken over for Billy Butler. It feels strange to come to Kansas City and not see Billy Butler doing that damage that he did in so many years for the Royals against Detroit pitching, but Kendrys Morales is doing his best.
6-game hitting streak right now for Morales. Was talking to former Royal Jeff Montgomery, who is one of their analysts here in KC, and he said that the addition of Morales has given them a deeper lineup because Billy really got off to kind of a poor start last year. Didn't have the Billy Butler type of season that they had hoped for, but Morales has stepped in nicely and lengthened their lineup considerably. He's got 3 home runs this year.
All of a sudden this year, too, the Royals are playing with much more confidence in these particular situations. Runners in scoring position, 2 outs.
Not this time, though, as Miggy feeds Simon, and they will strand 2, and we go to the second. Raise your expectations of what a bank can be. When it's time, come to Comerica. Ram Trucks, Guts, Glory, Ram. And by Country Fresh Sour Cream and Dips. Get real. Well, it is the top of the second here in KC, and a glorious night for baseball. No score. Both teams had a little bit of a scoring threat going in the first inning. Yoenis Cespedes will lead it off for Detroit. Cespedes, Castellanos, and McCann. These are the 6, 7, 8 hitters for Brad Ausmus tonight. Danny Duffy goes back to work. Strike one on Cespedes. A fastball from Duffy. So Duffy now is 5 of 6 in first pitch strikes so far in this game. Yoenis has hit safely in 5 in a row. Fouls that one back out of play. 0-2. 5 out of 12. And that series just completed against the Minnesota Twins. He's been a real solid performer in the early going for the Tigers. He has fitted nicely to this lineup and certainly the locker room. Here's the 0-2. Swing and a miss, and struck him out. Duffy has his second strikeout of the ball game.
A mid-90s fastball thrown by Duffy right by Cespedes.
Now third baseman Nick Castellanos.
Royals starting pitching really hasn't been all that good this year. I mean, they've been winning a lot of games primarily because of their offense, but in their last 11 games only 3 quality starts out of their starters.
Yeah, their bullpen certainly has been locked down. We talked about that at the top of the show tonight, but they just have not gotten really consistent starts. Danny Duffy considered, I guess, their number 2 starter behind Ventura this year. Showed a lot of promise last year before being injured late in the season. That's fouled back 1-1.
I guess Ventura, after his start last night in Cleveland, decided to start his 7-game suspension.
He did, which would put him right on pace to start against the Tigers on Friday back home. Here's the 1-1 to Castellanos. Nick swings right through it. Another fastball from Duffy, 1-2. Duffy last year just got no run support. I mean, he had a really good ERA. It was 2.53, but he lost 12 games.
Case in point, he lost 3 games to the Tigers last year, did not win a game, and his ERA was 2.12.
Oh, that's some tough luck there. The 1-2 missed. Duffy really wanted that one. 2-2.
Here's some of the leadership skills I'm talking about with Perez. Take a look at him leading Duffy with the glove. Make sure you get it down, pat in the dirt.
Just a tad low. Castellanos hammers one to left. That's a base hit. 1 on, 1 out as James McCann comes rolling in. We check in with Justin White.
Well, Mario, nobody was more surprised about James McCann's inside the park home run yesterday than James McCann. After the game, he went into the clubhouse and had to look at the video to see exactly what happened when the ball bounced away from Jordan Schaefer, giving him enough time to round the bases. Now, as you might expect, James had lots of voicemails and text messages after the game, and he said the best text was actually from his high school baseball coach, who said, "I guess all those base running drills finally paid off for you."
Yeah, well, the hitting skills probably had a lot to do with that as well. Thanks, J-Dub. But it was an exciting moment for McCann, who had a really good day overall for the Tigers.
Yeah, Miguel Cabrera kind of upstaged him yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday was McCann's day, but Miggy showed up and hit about 1,000 feet of home runs and kind of upstaged him.
Well, McCann will never forget that his first major league homer was of the inside the park variety. Duffy's 0-1. Missed low and away. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I wonder why Duffy would even slide step with Castellanos on first base. The Tigers do have some speed, don't get me wrong, but Castellanos is not one of those guys that steals bases.
And Nick is 0 for 1 this year. Certainly not in the grouping of Ghosts or Davis or Iglesias. Fouled straight back by McCann. 1-2.
That time, more conventional delivery by Duffy. The arm was able to catch up, and he was able to throw that fastball downhill to James McCann.
Danny Duffy is 26 years old, so still relatively young in baseball terms.
They love him. They love his skill set. They think he could be a number 1 or number 2 at this level.
Bouncing ball towards second base. Infante to second, one of the relay. In time, a double play. 4-6-3. Started by Infante and turned by Colon. Still no score. How about this year? Yordano Ventura has been in the middle of quite a few melees.
You know, this is not good start for Kansas City. They're playing such great baseball, but everything that people are talking about is how these little mini brawls have been kind of showing up in the first 3 weeks of the season.
I saw a stat today where the Royals have been hit in 21 games this year. They've been hit 20 times.
Yeah, they've been hit a lot.
Here's Salvador Perez to start things off for the Royals.
It's almost like teams are trying to intimidate them.
Right. They've gotten to the World Series. They want to see what they're made of now. Perez, a lot of talent, batting .317. They back him out of there. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And Salvi, as they call him here in Kansas City, is off to an outstanding start. .317 is his batting average with 3 homers.
Wave and a miss. 1-2.
And Simon's got that really good slider today. We wonder if he'll throw that same pitch that he got a couple of strikes on Lorenzo Cain with. Going back inside with a fastball.
He's grounded foul. You were talking earlier about how they have really leaned on Salvador Perez. I mean, he's a big kid, but he plays a demanding position. If you count the postseason last year, and he caught every inning of the postseason, he played in what amounted to be 161 games.
That is more games than in the history of the game. No catcher's ever caught that many games in one season.
Here's the 1-2. Lifted in the air to center. It's routine. Rajay Davis under it. And one hands it for the out.
And didn't he go to Japan with the All-Stars too?
I don't know that. Did he?
Yes,
did. Yeah,
he did.
I'm being told he did. How about that? That's a lot of baseball. Here is Omar Infante. Former Tiger, batting .267 this year for KC.
Omar has always been a really good fastball hitter. Missed it low.
1-0 on Infante. He's Played in 14 games this year. Missed a couple of games with a groin injury. That's in the air as well to Rajai Davis. Out in center field. He cruises back. Another one-handed grab. 2 gone. He's going to bring up Gerard Dyson. Rajai styling out there with those orange shoes out there in center field.
You can't miss him tonight.
Oh, he's got the, in day games, he'll wear those bright white sunglasses. Dyson batting 174. Check those out.
Oh, you can't miss him tonight.
I like him. Got to give me a pair of those.
You wouldn't wear them.
Well, I've got no place to wear them. Bunted by Dyson, but right there is Simon to make the play. And 1, 2, 3 they go. You're watching Tigers baseball tonight, presented by Bell Tire. And here are some of the season ranks between this Tigers and Royals team that, well, 2 of the better teams in the American League, and here's why.
Well, every year the Tigers are pretty much doing what they've done the first 3 weeks of the season, but it's the Kansas City Royals offense that's surprising a lot of people in baseball.
Tigers came in to this ball game today with 15 wins and 14 for KC. Tigers bat now in the top of the 3rd. Bottom of the order, it'll be Jose Iglesias, the number 9 hitter, facing Danny Duffy. Ball 1 to Iglesias.
Iglesias had the afternoon off yesterday in Minnesota, and all Andrew Romine did as his replacement was get 4 hits and steal a base.
Here's the 1-0. Showing bunt.
I kind of like the way that Brad is using Iglesias with giving him a couple of days off. Even though he's still very young, what he came back from last year, the stress fracture in both shins, you got to watch him close.
And what makes it so difficult is it's so easy to ride the hot horse, and right now Iglesias batting .379. You hate to take him out of the lineup, and also what he gives you defensively. But
right.
The man Romine filled in beautifully yesterday.
I think Brad will take advantage of that situation a lot more.
And Romine's made it easier. Here's the 1-2. Bouncing ball to short. Right there is Colon. Better hurry. And he got Iglesias by a step. Well, the only way to get an Alan Trammell 1984 replica road jersey is to purchase an exclusive ticket package to see the Tigers battle the Royals May 8th through 10th. Packages available only at tigers.com/jersey. Back up to the top of the lineup now, Rajai Davis. who lined out to the center fielder Kane his first time up. You'll watch that one bounce in 1-0. Davis, despite not playing every day, is 5th in the American League in stolen bases. He has a total of 6. Batting .298 now. He tries to drop down a bunt to no avail.
He got the perfect pitch to push that ball past Danny Duffy. It was a changeup at 84 up in the strike zone, but he wasn't able to execute it. But the perfect pitch to try to push that ball toward the second baseman, Omar Infante.
Here's the 1-1. The chopper hit toward third. Charging there, Moustakas. Davis is out 2 away. They started yelling Moose even before he got to the ball.
They love him in Kansas City these days, don't they?
He can't do anything wrong now.
Last year they sent him down to the minor leagues for a couple of weeks.
Well, of course, Moose had a big postseason last year for the Royals.
Hit 5 homers.
So here's Kinsler with 2 outs. He lined out to Gerard Dyson in right field back in the first inning. Duffy's gotten 3 straight ground balls now. One of them was a double play ball to end the second off the bat of McCann. Here's the 0-1. Popped him up. First base side for Eric Hosmer. And Duffy has himself an easy 1-2-3 inning. On our way to the bottom of the third. Game as Ned Yost in his 6th season as Royals manager. You know, he took so much heat last year, Rob, the way he managed, and he likes to bunt a lot and things like that, but he got his team to the World Series.
Yeah, you're right, man. There were a lot of experts out there picking on Ned Yost. Every move that he made, they had something to criticize him about, but his team rallied around him despite some of the moves that he was making, and they nearly won a world championship last year.
Christian Colon will lead things off. He'll be followed by Gordon and Moustakas. Alfredo Simon, the right-hander, goes back to work here in the third. And Colon bounces it back out of play.
Scary moment last night in Cleveland. Danny Salazar, who throws 96 miles an hour, hit Alcides Escobar in the face. And I think the blow was kind of softened a little bit by that hitting his helmet. It didn't hit him square in the face. But still, 96 miles an hour. Upstairs, not good.
Here's the 0-2. Escobar will not play tonight. He's been ruled out, and they'll take further tests tomorrow to see if concussion is what he is suffering from right now. But if it is, then certainly there's a possibility he could go on the concussion disabled list. But that is yet to be determined.
Yeah, there were some rumors going around today that they're a little concerned now, and he's showing some concussion symptoms.
Well, he's getting beaten up. I mean, he had that play at second base with Brett Laurie, and now this.
He played 162 games last year, Escobar, at the shortstop position. He played every day.
Bouncer right back to the mound. Easy play for Simon, and 1 out. Time for a game break now. We go back to the studio. Here's Mickey York. All right, Mick, thanks. Here we have no score. We're playing at the bottom of the 3rd inning as Gordon stands in. Highly anticipated early season series between these two clubs. And you may say, yes, it is late April. It's almost May. It's still very early in the season. But I think both of these teams want to come out and kind of establish what they're all about this year.
And if you're the Kansas City Royals, last year you had a great year. You nearly won a World Series, but the one thing they couldn't do, they could not beat the Tigers. In the 19 games they played last year, the Tigers beat them 14 times.
Here's the 2-0 pitch. That's high. 3 balls and no strikes.
This is second at bat today that he has fallen behind Alex Gordon. 3 balls, no strikes. He was able to come back and get him in the 1st inning with a strikeout after falling behind him.
The 3-0. That is drilled high in the air down the right field line, way back to the corner. And Martinez will watch it go foul. Ooh, he made a bid down that right field line. That pole hooks around, and he almost got it around that pole.
When your manager turns you loose, 3 balls and no strikes, this is what he wants to see. He wants to see you get out in front of a fastball and look to hit it out of the ballpark. Even though that fastball was tailing away from Gordon, he was still able to get out in front of it and nearly had home run distance.
3-1. Gordon has hit 3 homers this year. Here's the 3-1 pitch. That's drilled toward right center field, base hit. And Alex Gordon has a 1-out single.
Let's take a look at our Bell Tire pitch by pitch. Alex Gordon has a really good eye today, and Simon is not necessarily going right after him. He fell behind him. 1 ball, 2 balls, now 3 balls. He swung at the 3-0 pitch, nearly missed a home run. Then Simon came back with another 2-seam fastball that was laced to center field by Gordon. This is just a really good swing by Gordon. You could tell a lot of these guys are playing with a lot of confidence right now.
Royals have their 2nd hit. That'll bring up Mike Moustakas, who got a bunt single down the 3rd base line against the shift. Castellanos now has moved a little bit more toward the line after that last at bat. And that's exactly where the bunt went. It went just around the bag at 3rd. But should Simon get 2 strikes on Moustakas, Castellanos probably would move. There's ball 1 outside.
You know, I was talking about the fact that the Tigers currently have more stolen bases than the Kansas City Royals. I don't expect them to have many more than them if the season was to end, but Kansas City's been swinging the bat so well. They have not been having to steal as many bases these days.
It's been a little bit of a different dynamic. I mean, with Moustakas coming on now, the addition of Morales. There's a strike call. 1-1 the count.
Here's one of the reasons why Moustakas is having such success. I mean, take a look here. Left field used to be foreign to him. Now he's hitting the ball all around the ballpark.
Well, that is a lot to left field. 15. But as you say, and the Tigers continue to play him to pull that they're not buying into the numbers just quite yet.
There are already some teams that have slightly started to shift back on Moustakas. It's amazing how well he's using the opposite field.
Well, and it goes back to something I was talking about, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. Will these shifts start to make guys better hitters overall? Because Moustakas clearly now going the other way a lot. Meanwhile, they draw some boos as, again, Simon goes back to first base.
Gordon has not stolen a base yet this year, and he's been caught twice.
Gordon inching off the bag at first base. Fly ball. Right field and hit well. J.D. on the run. He's not going to get there up against the wall. Here comes Gordon rounding third. They send him home. He will score. It's a double for Mike Moustakas. It's a different guy this year.
Moustakas has a very high batting average, but he really hasn't driven in that many runs. That's only the 9th run that he's driven in this year. The 6th double. That's a split-fingered fastball that does not get to the area that Simon wants it, and he hits it over the head of J.D. Martinez. And Gordon, with his speed, able to score without a play.
Five-game hitting streak now for Moustakas, who knocks in his 9th. And now the Royals will try and score him. Here is Lorenzo Cain. That is only the 3rd run that Simon has given up in his last 4 starts now. No balls, 1 strikeout, Lorenzo Cain. Simon gave up a bunt single and a walk, but no damage in the first. He got him 1, 2, 3 in the second.
Through Lorenzo Cain, a couple of outstanding sliders. His first at bat this evening, and he struck him out in the first.
Here's the 0-1. Chopped foul, third base side. So he's ahead now 0-2 on Cain. .333 in the postseason last year for Cain.
If you're Simon, you can go a couple of ways here. And you can throw another one of those sliders that you've been commanding very well tonight. Or you can simply go upstairs with a fastball around his letters and to see if you can get him to swing at it for strike 3.
Simon stays away. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Single by Gordon, double by Moustakas, and Royals fans something to cheer about here in the 3rd. They take the lead. Hosmer waiting on deck. Now Simon with the 1-2. Again grounded, this time just foul at third base. Here is our T-Mobile game changer tonight. I want to talk a little bit about Lorenzo Cain because he certainly has, as Rod mentioned, turned into a leader and turned into a game changer. He leads major leagues with 8 defensive runs saved, which means he's 8 runs better than any other average center fielder in the big leagues. 3rd in the major leagues with a WAR of 1.5, and he ranks 10th in the American League in average.
He's got a legitimate shot of dethroning Adam Jones of the Baltimore Orioles for Gold Glove.
Adam Jones having a really good year too this year, isn't he?
He sure is. Offensive numbers are off the chain.
Time call now as McCann runs out to the mound. Simon has not been in too much trouble in most of his starts this year. A little bit of an uprising here in the 3rd for the Royals.
We told you a little earlier that the cut fastball is the pitch of choice for Simon against right-handed batters. Right-handed batters this year have just 1 hit against Simon.
And the 2 hits that have produced a run here in the 3rd, both off of left-handed bats, Gordon and Moustakas.
He's thrown a couple of cutters to Lorenzo Cain, but Cain has been able to lay off of him.
Two balls, two strikes. Cain 12 RBIs this year to go with his 5 steals. Here's the 2-2. Outside again, and Cain lays off as McCann goes down to get it. Full count now, 3-2. Simon last year won 15 ball games as a member of the Reds, was an all-star. Tigers traded for him in the offseason when they lost both Scherzer and traded away Porcello. Full count. Cain sends a ground ball foul just outside the bag at third. He has just missed on a couple down that third base line.
And Castellanos also hugging that line down toward third base because Cain hit so many balls down in that direction.
Simon now has thrown 20 pitches here in this third inning. Cain swings and misses. Down he goes. Big strikeout there for Alfredo.
Lorenzo Cain did a pretty nice job working the count back into his favor after falling behind Simon. No balls, 2 strikes. But it was that last two-seam fastball at 95 miles an hour that tied him up. And for a second strikeout of the evening.
2 gone now for Hosmer.
How about 95 with that kind of movement?
I was about to say, I mean, a two-seamer is not typically at 95. Those are 4-seam fastballs. Here's Hosmer now, who walked in the first inning. He drives one high in the air to center field. Rajai Davis going back. He looks up, and that ball is gone to dead center field for Eric Hosmer. Third home run of the season, 3-0 Royals.
Eric Hosmer also homered in last night's game in Cleveland. The opposite way, left center field. I mean, he hit it a ton. He killed that.
Oh, he knew it too. So did Rajai. Over the 410 marker in dead center. Hosmer hits his third, and the crowd has come alive again. 3-0 KC. Kendrys Morales looks at ball one. That ball traveled an estimated 421 feet. Morales grounded out his first time up. Little chopper back up the middle on the charge. Iglesias. And that is that for KC, but they do some damage. Hosmer's homer highlights the inning.
runs. That one right there missed by just a couple of feet, but then he hit one later on to left center field, upper deck in Minnesota, and then straight central, a ball that I'd never seen hit out in that area. So Miggy had some kind of day yesterday in Minneapolis.
Here are the numbers on Cabrera through April 29th last year and this year, and you see 100 points higher in the average column. 370 this year. Miggy had a walk in the first inning. Danny Duffy goes to work with a 3-run lead.
He walked Miguel by design, as you mentioned, in the very first inning, but he'll probably get something to hit in this at bat.
It'll be Cabrera, Martinez in the top of the fourth in KC. Duffy ready with the 1-0. Ball high, 2-0. Cabrera has 30 hits this year, second most in the American League. Hence that average at 370. And Duffy has fallen behind, 2 balls, no strikes. And he's in there, 2-1. Perez flashing the target. 3 balls, 1 strike. Victor waiting on deck. He's got himself a base hit. Let's see what Cabrera gets here on 3-1. And it missed outside. Ball 4, second walk of the evening now for Miguel Cabrera. Leadoff man on. Hey, just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Maybe that's the game plan that the Kansas City Royals came in with tonight. They are not going to allow Miguel Cabrera to beat them.
Well, I was with you. I thought with a 3-0 lead, they might just go after him and try and get him out here in the fourth. But apparently not. Here's Martinez. Victor had a single back up the middle in his first at bat. And he looks at a strike, 0-1.
Even if Duffy does not pitch to Miguel Cabrera tonight, the Tigers still have a lot of quality at bats that could come back in this game.
Here's the 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike on Victor.
And usually when Duffy goes with that hard fastball inside, he comes back with a changeup away. And we'll see if he does that to Victor or if he doubles up with the fastball inside. Here comes that changeup.
Two and 1. Brad Ausmus before the game today was saying he's seeing signs that Victor is on his way back. He certainly is not nearly 100%, but he says his batting practice the last week or so has been getting better and better. He's been able to turn on some balls from the left side, which he wasn't able to do recently. But it's been a process. The 2-1 pitch. That's inside. 3 balls, 1 strike. So Duffy pitching with the lead now is falling behind. He's thrown 50. He had a 9-pitch third inning. Three balls, 1 strike on Victor Martinez. JD on deck. In the air, center field. It is straight at Lorenzo Cain. And that'll be the first out of the inning. Victor now is 1 for 2.
You can tell that Victor doesn't quite have his legs underneath him. Here's a fastball that's basically right down the middle, and Victor all day, every day kind of crushes these, but he kind of ties himself up. And it doesn't get to it with the bat speed that he normally able to generate because of that left knee.
There's Kevin Rand, who has daily had to keep an eye on Victor Martinez, the head athletic trainer for the Tigers. Here is J.D. Martinez. Swing and a miss, 0-1. J.D. struck out swinging with a couple of guys on in the first. In your mind, Rod, is that something that Martinez, and I know we're not doctors here, that is going to be able to, I guess, play through and eventually get better?
Oh, he'll get 100% before it's all said and done. I think he'll get better as he starts to run around and move around a little bit. I think the leg will start to get stronger.
The 0-1 pitch.
You know, even if they had to sit him down for a couple of weeks to make sure that it got right and it was not an issue the remainder of the year, they would do that. But right now, obviously they feel like Victor can go, or they would not be putting him in the lineup. They have invested quite a bit in him for the next 4 years.
1 ball, 1 strike on J.D. Chopper hit toward third. Moustakas waits on the hop. And his throw is in time across the diamond. That'll advance the runner to second. That's Cabrera. And a 2-out chance now for Yoenis Cespedes. Meanwhile, Perez going out to the mound to have a quick chat with Duffy. They struck out Perez back in the second.
That's just good leadership skills they're shown by Duffy. By Perez. And he's worked hard to get the 2 outs after walking Miguel. And he's got a dangerous batter in that batter's box in Cespedes. You don't want to make a mistake. One mistake can get the Tigers on the board with a 2-run home run from Yoenis.
First base open. You've got Castellanos on deck. And he's been struggling a bit. So we'll see if they're careful here to Cespedes. And Yoenis swings and misses. 96. 0-1.
Most of the fastballs that Duffy has thrown Cespedes today have been mid-90s fastball above the belt buckle.
Fouled back out of play. Quickly now 0-2 on Cespedes.
You saw the glove of the catcher, Salvador Perez. That was up in the strike zone. And Duffy was able to throw it up there. Cespedes not able to lay off of it. Fouled it straight back. Here's an example of where he wanted this last pitch.
Perez is only 24 years old. He won't be 25 until May 10th. But he is and will be a mainstay here in KC.
He's already won a couple Gold Gloves.
Duffy missed outside 1-2. Listed at 6'3", 240, Salvador Perez. And really, ever since he got to the big leagues, he's been hitting. They've got Cabrera at second with 2 outs. Popped him up. Is there room? There appears to be for Hosmer. That's going to end the threat. No runs, a walk. They leave a man at second. Here comes the bottom of the 4th.
against Simon. A single by Gordon, a double by Moustakas, and a home run by Eric Hosmer. All three left-handed, all three very talented.
And as a result, the Royals take a 3-0 lead into the bottom of the fourth here at Kauffman Stadium. The series opener between the top two teams in the American League Central Division. Alfredo Simon going back to work. And his first one is in there for a strike on Salvador Perez. Perez, Infante, and then Gerard Dyson. Royals 3 runs, 4 hits. Tigers no runs, 2 hits. Bender is lined to left field, sinking, base hit. So Perez has a leadoff single.
It's only the second hit that a right-handed batter has gotten this year against Alfredo Simon.
And Alfredo was a little bit steamed.
Well, he hung a breaking ball there. Wasn't a good pitch.
That's really kind of hard to fathom. I mean, that's only the second hit by a righty.
Yep.
Here's Infante, fly to center field in his only at bat. Omar takes ball 1. Good pickup by McCann. Royals started the year this season with 7 consecutive wins. Their bullpen has been as expected, even though their closer Greg Holland is on the disabled list right now. They finished just 1 game behind the Tigers last year in the Central Division. Pulled foul down the left field line. See the ball boy throw his glove up there?
No, I didn't see that.
That thing was coming at about 1,000 miles an hour. And he just threw his glove up there. He ought to have gotten out of the way. Got that big old KC helmet on. He's not afraid.
Got a big mitt too.
Oh, look at this. He almost got it, actually. Here's the 1-1 off the end of the bat. 1-2 on Infante.
That's a good cut fastball and thrown there at 88 miles an hour. If he throws that same cutter and he gets it down a little bit lower, he might get that double play ball that he's desperately looking for right now.
He's working against the bottom 3 in the lineup after the leadoff single by Perez.
Simon has thrown a total of 56 pitches. 75% of those have been either that 4-seam fastball or the cut fastball.
Infante began the year with a 9-game hitting streak. Overall this year, he sits safely in 13 of the 14 he's played in. This is the 1-2. Again pulled and again fouled. Oh, that one goes right through him. Oh, man. Now he's got to go run it down.
Yeah, that one ate him up.
He's upset with himself. I had that one. Oh, he is really upset.
He takes a lot of pride in that
He
gig.
does.
Yeah.
He's also getting more airtime tonight than you and me.
Yeah.
1-2.
He better make a play down there.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. I don't think I've ever seen a ball boy that upset.
Simon's had that really good slider today. And most of them he's located right there on the black. Just a touch below the knees.
Here's Dyson, who tried to butt his way on, not surprisingly, in his first at bat, but Simon was equal to the task.
Simon is 6 feet 6 inches, about 260 pounds, but he moves pretty well for a guy that size.
Yeah, he did on that play back in the second. Ball 1 to Dyson. You know his story by now. He was a 50th round pick back in 2006 of the Royals and has become a very productive major league player.
He might be the fastest player in the big leagues.
Here's the 1-0. Ripped to right field, base hit. Holding at second base is Perez, and the Royals have something going here in the fourth. Here's the shortstop, Colon. Royals now have 6 hits in this game.
5 of the 6 hits off left-handed bats. And really nothing cheap about any of them.
No. Here are the numbers on Simon. 60 now. He had an 8-pitch second inning with that 24-pitch third, in which the Royals got 3 runs. And they're threatening for more here in the 4th inning. Colon chops one foul. He is playing for Escobar at the shortstop position. Former #1 pick of these Kansas City Royals back in 2010, just a few years ago. Good year at AAA last year.
He's become somewhat of a utility player with Alcides Escobar and playing so well at the shortstop position.
Here's the 0-1. Sometimes you just run into situations where you're just blocked at the major league level, which is the case here with Colon, at least at the shortstop position.
Yep.
Kind of like you don't want to be a first baseman of the Tigers organization, because they've got a pretty good one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Inning started with a base hit by Perez, so 1-out single by Dyson. Colon waits on the 1-1. 1-2. Tigers acquired Simon in December. They gave up a shortstop, Eugenio Suarez, in the deal, and one of their pitching prospects, Jonathan Crawford. Tigers gave up a lot of their minor league talent last year, of course, in the Price deal, the Simon deal. Give up Devin Travis in the Anthony Ghost deal. The 1-2. One and two, the count stays on Colon.
Well, you know the Royals are high on Colon, and they wouldn't have drafted him with their first pick a couple of years ago. He might end up being their second baseman in a couple of years once Omar Infante departs. They gave Omar Infante a 4-year deal. He's currently in the 2nd year of that deal.
Swing and a miss. Down he goes. Another strikeout for Simon.
Simon is just death on right-handed batters.
5 strikeouts for Alfredo. Now a guy that got him back in the 3rd with a single to start the rally, Alex Gordon. 297 this year now for Gordon, who comes in batting .333 with runners in scoring position. Missed it. 1 ball and no strikes. Gordon last year had another really good season, despite the fact that he had to deal with that wrist problem. 19 homers, 74 RBIs, but he had that offseason surgery in December to correct that. Gold Glove left fielder, trying to add to the Royals' lead here in the 4th inning. Way outside, 2-0. Simon now is up to 67 pitches. Now Alfredo ready with the 2-0 pitch. Low, 3 balls, no strikes with Moustakas lurking. There's Moustakas, already has 2 hits tonight plus an RBI.
All 3 of Alex Gordon's at bats today have started out. 3 balls, no strikes.
And he's walked him. The second time that Gordon has reached. That is going to load the bases for Mike Moustakas. Well, look at Moustakas' numbers. His first 4 seasons in the major leagues, a .236 average. Obviously, it's still early this year, but he's off to a fabulous start at .353, and really across the board, the numbers are much better. They were wondering whether he would really ever hit consistently at this level. Well, if anybody benefited from the postseason, it might be this guy here. The Royals record 5 postseason home runs. And he's kind of catapulted into a really good start this year. A key spot in this ball game. Tigers already down by 3 runs. And even though we showed you a little earlier, if you were with us, that the majority of Moustakas' hits this season have gone to left field, the Tigers are still playing him to pull. There's a slow bouncing ball to second. Just what Simon needed. Kinsler throws him out. Threat is over. Royals leave him loaded. We go to the 5th. Services sponsor of Fox Sports Detroit. Bell Tire, get the lowest tire price period. Bell Tire. Meyer, save big with M-Perks from Meyer. Sign up at mperks.com. And by Chevrolet, find new roads. Well, the road to our schedule has taken us to Kansas City tonight. On a gorgeous night, it's Royals 3, Tigers nothing as we go to the top of the 5th. And for Detroit, it'll be Castellanos, McCann, Iglesias, the bottom 3 for the Tigers, facing Danny Duffy. And Duffy pours in a strike. He is now 11 for 16 in first pitch strikes in this game. Castellanos got it for a single back in the 2nd inning, but later he raced on a double play ball. Here's Duffy's 0-1. Duffy now is at a total of 60, 38 of which are strikes. Missed the 2012 season for the most part with Tommy John surgery, did Duffy. Here's the 1-1. Speaking of which, I think Joe Nathan had his second Tommy John and reported things went well.
Yeah, we wish Joe Nathan all the best.
We do indeed. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Castellanos. Duffy ready now with the 1-2. And he got him, strike 3. Castellanos caught looking.
Outstanding breaking ball there thrown by Duffy. Duffy's already had a couple of starts right here at home, and he hasn't been very good. But he's been good today. And the reason for that, he's used all of his pitches, all 4 of them. The slider, the curveball, the changeup, and his fastball. And basically all 3 pitches to Castellanos in the same area.
Duffy, for as hard as he throws, his strikeout high this year is only 5. He has 3 tonight. McCann looks at a strike on the outer edge.
He's kind of found that really nice arm slot for the curveball. Last 2 curveballs thrown, the one to Castellanos and the James McCann. Good pitches.
The 0-1 is looped into right field. That'll drop in. Base hit. Opposite field single for McCann. And he's got himself a mini 4-game hitting streak now. That'll bring up Iglesias. Jose bounced out in the 3rd. Strike 1. .379 coming in for Iglesias. Good for 2nd in the American League in the average column. The 0-1 pitch. Bouncing ball to 3rd. Moustakas. He'll get 1 there. Going to be tough to turn 2. But they do. Iglesias out by a step at first base in a 5-4-3 double play. The second one turned tonight by the Royals.
Gives us the call of the game. Alfredo Simon has punched out Lorenzo Cain twice today. First time he got him on a really nice slider. Second time he got him on a two-seam running fastball at 95 miles an hour. He continues his dominance over right-handed batters.
So here are the Royals now as we go to the bottom of the fifth. Still 3-0 is our score. KC has turned a couple of double plays in this game, and here is entering tonight the numbers that you spoke of. 045. What do you like to call those?
That's bingo number.
Bingo. For the Royals, Kane, Hosmer, Morales facing Alfredo Simon. Off the end of the bat, foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Kane last year knocked in 53, hit 301 overall on the season. He comes in this at bat at least, at 329. He was the Royals Player of the Year last year. Now the 1-1. Back out of play, 1-2.
Lorenzo Cain is a legitimate 5-tool player. He's got power. He's hitting for average. He's stolen a bunch of bases. And defensively, there are not many center fielders better than him. He can do it all on a baseball field.
Simon, meanwhile, watched the pitch count elevate the last couple of innings. One-two sails outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Lorenzo Cain. Cain came over to the Royals from the Milwaukee Brewers.
That was a really good trade for the Kansas City Royals.
The Zach Greinke deal.
They also got their shortstop in that same deal.
Right. Escobar, you're right.
Alcides Escobar.
Cain now has finally blossomed. He has been with the Royals since 2011. That trade, I should say, was 2010 from Milwaukee.
And Lorenzo Cain really didn't play a lot of baseball growing up. He didn't start playing baseball till high school.
Yeah, which is really odd. That very rarely do you see that happen where guys get to the big leagues that haven't really been playing it since an early age.
Such a tough game.
So it speaks to his athletic ability to be able to, I don't know, have the ability to pick up the sport that quickly.
And to play at the highest level.
3 balls, 2 strikes on Cain.
Usually in baseball, if you haven't picked it up by the time you're 12, 13, I mean, you can get past Little League, but if you don't pick it up by 12 or 13, more than likely you're not going to play.
Here's the 3-2. Cain shoots one right back up the middle into center. Solid single to center field for Lorenzo Cain.
Here is our high-speed pitch, and it's brought to you by Xfinity. Alfredo Simon has thrown quite a few fastballs in the mid-90s today, and he's gone as low as 77 with that really slow curveball. And now we'll see if Hosmer takes a pitch or two to see if Cain wants to steal second base.
Hosmer hit a homer. Was back in the third, a 2-run shot to make it 3-0. That was to center field. He'll look at ball 1. Lorenzo last season stole 28, was caught only 5 times. Held at first base by Cabrera. Shift is on for Hosmer. There goes the runner. Strike is called. Throw down to second. Ball dropped by Kinsler. It comes out of his glove.
It looked like Dan Iasonia, who was the second base umpire, was going to call Cain safe, even if the ball would have come out of the glove of Ian Kinsler. Kindler never caught it.
And Kane is now 6 of 7. Another man in scoring position for the Royals, this time with nobody out. 1 ball, 1 strike on Eric Hosmer. Walk and a homer tonight. Hosmer with a swing and a miss, and it's 1-2. Hosmer about a third of the way now from his home run total of last year. He had 9, knocked in 58.
How in the world are the Kansas City Royals going to be able to afford Hosmer and Kane and Moustakas if they continue to perform like this?
Yeah, they've raised their level of play, which will raise their pay scale. There's a swing and a miss, awkward swing there by Hosmer.
Yeah, it was.
So 1 gone here in the 5th. Hosmer fighting for his life on that last swing.
That's one of the better split-fingered fastballs that Simon has thrown today. That one had some real nice tumbling action to it.
Will be the 6th strikeout for Simon. We'll bring up Kendrys Morales, who's been quiet so far tonight. Couple of ground balls. 311 average this season for Morales. Kane bluffing. Now they throw back, and he gets back in there, standing up. Iglesias tried to hold on to the ball, hoping Kane would get off the bag, but he wouldn't.
Lorenzo Cain is 10 of 12 in stealing third base in his major league career. And you got a left-handed batter up there in Morales, who Simon might just put on first base anyway because he's got a nice parking spot for him. And the next 2 batters are right-handed batters.
Well, Morales has hit in 19 of the 21 he has played in with the Royals this year, which ought to give you an indication of just how consistent he has been in their lineup. Here's the shift. Royals just 1 of 6 with men in scoring position in this game. Simon again whirling towards second. With Simon really preoccupied with Kane down at second base. Salvador Perez will be next. And another bluff to second. That is angering the crowd here. Royals signed Morales in December. They signed him to a 2-year deal as Billy Butler moved on. Playing with the Athletics now. Here's the 0-1. Swing and a drive. Way back into right field. Martinez to the wall, and it's off the wall. Here comes the runner rounding third. Kane will score standing up, and the Royals lead 4-0.
Not smart pitching there by Simon to go up against Kendrys Morales with the base open and 1 out and 2 right-handed batters following him, and Morales nearly hit it out of the ballpark.
He did not miss by much.
It's a fastball that he wanted upstairs, and he did get it upstairs, and Morales was able to climb the ladder and almost homered. It's a mistake, though, by Simon and the young catcher McCann.
7 doubles on the year now for Morales, who has 17 RBIs. And here's Salvador Perez.
This game is big for the Royals. I know it's only the end of April, but last year the Tigers manhandled them. They beat a lot of teams last year, but could not beat the Tigers. And the Tigers march into Kauffman Stadium tonight in first place. And the Royals are off to one of their best starts in recent memory.
Tigers won 13 of the 19 between these two clubs last year. But again, in the end, it was the Tigers that won the Central. Way outside. 2 balls, no strikes.
He dropped down to a different arm slot that time to throw that fastball.
Action in the bullpen as Wilson is throwing for the Tigers.
Looks like they're going to use Wilson in a variety of different roles. He pitched late in games.
In many.
Yeah.
He is up early in this one. Well, it's 5th inning and midway through this game. There's a bouncer to third base. Castellanos charging. It's a foul ball. 2 balls, 1 strike on Salvador Perez. The Royals very nearly have hit 2 balls out of this ballpark. Hosmer did leave the ballpark in the 3rd, and Morales just missed one here in the 5th.
I think Brad was asking them to take a look at that to see if Salvador kind of sold that that ball hit him, or did it really hit him?
Well, if he did sell it, he did a great job.
I didn't see much dirt kick up, but I saw a little dirt kick up. Did you?
That was hard to tell. That's driven toward left center field. Rajay on the run. So is Cespedes. Neither will get it. Another run will score, and Salvador Perez has an RBI double. Back-to-back 2 base hits.
And Salvador Perez just continues to punish Tigers pitching in his young big league career.
It is a 5-0 ball game. Perez has his 5th double, and he's got 2 hits tonight. Tigers buying a little time now for Wilson as McCann goes out to the mound. So does Miggy. And here comes Brad. That appears to be it for Alfredo Simon. 3 hits in this inning. 2 of them doubles to drive in runs. And there goes the signal to the Tigers bullpen. It was Simon, who is just untouchable in his last 3, will depart early here tonight. Wallside Windows pitching change.
He had only given up 1 run this year.
Here comes Wilson. We play here in the bottom of the 5th inning. To the bullpen go the Detroit Tigers. Simon is done for the night, and Alex Wilson comes in.
Wilson came from the Boston Red Sox along with Yoenis Cespedes in the Rick Porcello deal. He has pitched in 2 games already for the Tigers. A .245 earned run average, logging 3 2/3 innings.
Rough night for Alfredo. He is bounced out here in the 5th after back-to-back doubles by Morales and Perez. Still only 1 out of the inning, and here is Omar Infante. Strikeout flyout for Infante. And Kansas City now has 9 hits in this game. 3 of them doubles. And a homer.
It's only 1 game, but it's a different looking offensive squad than the one that we've watched the last number of years.
Here's the 0-1 to Infante. Ball inside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
They used to get by on pitching and defense with a little bit of offense. They still have the pitching and the defense. Now they've added and upgraded their offense. And they don't even have Alex Rios right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Escobar is out of the lineup tonight. Ground ball to third. Castellanos backs up on it. Infante is out. And there are 2 gone now for Gerard Dyson. Wilson last year in Boston appeared in 18 games at the major league level and had an ERA of under 2. Dyson a single and a ground out. He tried to bunt his way on, bunted back to the mound. Strike 1 to Dyson. Now McCann out to the mound. Crowd has really filled in nicely here tonight. This is a good gathering. They are expecting standing room only the final 3 games of the series. Pumpkin Stadium rocking again these days. Of course, they got to the World Series last year.
This place was loud, wasn't it?
Oh man, it was really loud. The 0-1. Bouncing ball towards short. Diving stop. Iglesias shovels it to third. Safe there.
That's the only play Iglesias had.
It's an infield single for Dyson.
And Salvador Perez, who was running from second base, really had no idea that Iglesias was going to try to throw him out. Or else he slides.
Yeah, he almost got him.
Castellanos couldn't get back to the bag.
So here is Colon, the number 9 hitter. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Strikeout, bounced out in his first at bat. Royals trying to add some more here. They lead 5-0. Dyson draws a throw. Gerard with 3 steals this year. Colon slices one to right field, base hit. 1 run was scored. Dyson is on his way to third, and he is in there standing up. The number 9 hitter, Christian Colon, joins the party. (6-0) KC. That's 11 hits now for the Royals. And Colon has his 3rd RBI. Here's Alex Gordon. This will be the 8th man to bat in the inning. Gordon has a walk and he has a single. Inside, ball 1. How about the Royals with men in scoring position tonight? 5 for 11. And they came in at 308. swing and a miss.
Royals are showing that the very good offensive numbers that they've put up in the month of April are no fluke. As a team, their batting average is very high, and they have several individuals that are off to terrific starts under their skipper, Ned Yost.
Gordon has knocked in 11 this year. That last run is charged to Simon, so his book is closed. Wilson again throws to first base as Colon gets back in there. Royals are 4 of 6 with men in scoring position in this inning alone. Tough night for Simon. Here's the 1-1. Grounded foul. You see the Royals over the past few years have incrementally, Rod, just gotten better and better and better.
Yeah, under Dayton Moore, who is their general manager, who came from the Atlanta Braves and learned everything that he knows from John Sherholtz, who is an outstanding baseball mind. And Dayton Moore has finally put a winning product on the field in Kansas City.
Runner goes to second with no throw as McCann bluffs the throw, and Colon goes in standing up.
That was a predetermined play. It wasn't even a straight steal. It was almost like a delayed steal by Colon. And what they're hoping happens here, once the ball gets into the glove of McCann, they wanted him to throw the ball to second base with Dyson on third base. Dyson would have scored.
2-2. Little pop-up, shallow center field. That is going to drop. That's going to get 2 more runs in. Even the broken bats are driving in runs tonight for the Royals. (8-0) Kansas City. 13 RBIs for Gordon. And now Jeff Jones out. They are going to hit around here in the 5th. Well, Saturday, May 9th, the Tigers take on these Royals at 1:08. Be sure to arrive early for the special pregame on-field clinic hosted by Tigers players and coaches. Call 866-66-TIGER or visit tigers.com. Right now, it's the Royals putting on an offensive clinic. They have scored 5 times in this inning, and they lead 8-0. Here is the 9th man at bat in the inning, Mike Moustakas. Ball 1 to Moustakas. 1 single in the first, RBI double in the 3rd. That has his average up to 364. Fouled away. 1 ball, 1 strike. RBIs in this inning to Morales, Perez, and Colon, and 2 of them for Gordon. Wilson came on for the starter. Simon here in the 5th. Here's the 1-1. Swing and a miss. 1-2 on Moustakas. Moustakas picked up his 30th hit last night in the Royals game against the Indians. He didn't have 30 hits until mid-June last year.
Really?
Mid-June.
Yeah, that's why he was sent down to the minor leagues.
Here's the 1-2. Just got a piece of it, staying alive.
And it looks like he's trying to hit that ball the opposite way right now.
Yep.
Already 15 hits to left field this year. 15 of the 30, but he's got a ton of room over there. Why wouldn't you go in that direction?
12 hits on the board for the Royals tonight. The Tigers have only 3 against Danny Duffy. It's been a lengthy sit down for him. 1-2 is chopped to first, foul. Right by Rusty Kuntz. He was an old teammate of yours, wasn't he?
Yeah, Rusty and I came up together in the minor leagues.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we both signed with the Chicago White Sox. Rusty was out of college. I was out of high school, but we were teammates in rookie ball down in Sarasota, Florida. Then we were teammates a couple of other times in the minors, and then we both landed in Detroit in '84.
Stockis goes down swinging to end the inning, but what an inning for the Royals. 5 big ones on the board to knock Simon out of the game.
Hey, his team has scored him 8 runs, and he's pretty much done the rest. He's gotten the Tigers to hit into a couple of double plays already today, and they really haven't squared up a lot of baseballs against Duffy. He has walked Miguel Cabrera a couple of times, which has kind of helped him limit the damage, but he's thrown a couple fastballs at 97 miles an hour here tonight.
5 innings, 3 hits, no runs to this point, 3 strikeouts. Duffy doesn't know what hit him. He's got 8 runs to work with tonight. Last year they gave him about 3 runs of support per 9 innings, which was the lowest run support in the American League. Not so this evening. Rajai Davis leading it off. And Davis looks at a ball low. Run the count now to 1 ball 1 strike.
There seems like most starting pitchers in the big leagues that have some longevity, guys that pitch multiple years in the big leagues. They all go through that 1 year where your team just doesn't score any runs for you.
That was last year for Duffy. He lost 12 games, had an ERA in the mid-2s. He is the second youngest member of this Royals rotation. Ventura is 24. Duffy is 26. Here's the 2-1. Fouled back 2-2 on Rajai Davis. Here's that interesting stat, the 2.55 ERA, the lowest of any AL pitcher with a losing record since '69, with a minimum of 25 starts. Here's the 2-2 pitch, way high, 3-2.
Duffy is 14 of 19 tonight so far in first pitch strikes, and usually he's not that good. He's always had command issues. He's walked a couple tonight, but really he's walked Miguel Cabrera by design.
And a foul tip into the glove on what would have been ball 4. How about that for luck? Rajai had that ball hit the bat, and C.B. Buckner called him out. You know, Davis knew it. I mean, there's not much you can do about that.
Nope. You know, we've been talking about Mike Moustakas and the fact that he has been, you know, hitting a lot of balls the opposite way. Ian Kinsler this year has also driven quite a few balls the opposite way. I mean, Ian has always been known as a dead pull hitter. But this year he's made an adjustment. He started to use right field a little bit more effectively.
Like he does there. Ball hit well to right field. Dyson is on the run. So is Kane. Dyson runs it down.
Them boys out there just too fast, man.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I know they can run, but I didn't think he had a shot there.
He's a track star. I mean, I thought this ball was going to get over his head, but look at where he's playing, how shallow he is. And he's off at the crack of the bat, and he takes a beeline toward the wall, a direct straight line, and makes a really nice running grab.
2 up, 2 down. Duffy with the tip of the cap.
Yeah, that's something they started last year, tipping their caps to one another after a nice play. You could read Duffy's lips. Unbelievable play, he said.
Here's Cabrera. They have not let him play tonight. They have walked him twice, but the lead now is 8-0.
I think I said this yesterday, that they're going to have to find a different league for him because they're not going to let him play.
Duffy ready with the 1-0. Ripped to left field, base hit.
That's the only swing he's taken so far today.
On base for the 3rd time. It's a 2-out single for Miguel.
And he barrels it up. First time he's let Miggy swing the bat today, and Miggy just hits the seed to left field. Miggy climbed the ladder a little bit to get to that 93-mile-per-hour heater.
Here's Victor Martinez, single fly ball, 1 for 2. And is in there for a strike. 0-1 on Martinez, who snapped an 0 for 11 slump with a first inning single. The Tigers look like they might be off and running early in this game. They put 2 men on in the first, but Duffy struck out J.D. Martinez. Good block by Perez. 1 ball, 1 strike. For Martinez, the splits look like this when there's somebody on base. Man, he's really good.
Yeah, he's still dangerous.
That hit, by the way, from Cabrera is just the 4th of the night for the Tigers offense.
Well, Tigers had a game a couple days ago where they only got 3 hits.
Yeah, against Minnesota.
Yeah, Mike Pelfrey that night.
Right through the wickets. Right back to Perez. The throw not going to be in time as Cabrera moves up. You thought he might have a chance. Came right back to him.
And breaking ball right through the legs, grabs it with the bare hand and fires down to second.
We'll put a runner at second now with a 2-1 count on Martinez. Victor a chance to drive in a run. Line drive to left. That's a base hit. Gordon comes up with the ball. They're going to stop Miggy at third. As Gordon fires it home, that'll leave runners at first and third now with 2 away.
Miguel Cabrera, and we've well documented the fact that he takes a look to see where all the outfielders are before every pitch. So when the ball was hit by Victor, he knew beyond a shadow of a doubt it was going to be a base hit. And he got a really good jump off of second base. But that's how much respect they have for the left fielder. He's off at the crack of the bat, but still stopped by Dave Clark because Alex Gordon gets so many assists every year.
He was running to third base with the intention fully of coming around to score on that play. And then Clark held him up.
He's shaking his head at Gordon.
Not running on you. So now here is J.D. Martinez. A couple of 2-out hits. Ball 1 to J.D. Strikeout, ground out for the Tigers right fielder. J.D. sends a ground ball foul at third base. Danny Duffy gave up a couple of runners in the first. He's been helped out by 2 double play balls tonight. He's walked a couple. Cabrera twice. Helped out by a fine running play by Dyson in this inning. It's fouled away. They want him to take the next step, and for him that would be to get to 200 innings this year. And Duffy changed his workout regimen in the offseason, added a little bit more core work, did a little less running to make himself a little bit more durable throughout the year. Really didn't have a chance to pitch much in the postseason out of the bullpen. He had a rib injury late in the season. Here's the 1-2 swing and a miss. J.D. goes down. Tigers stranded 2 more. It's the second time he has fanned him tonight. 5 in the ball game for Danny Duffy.
That they got from the Milwaukee Brewers when they were able to acquire Lorenzo Cain in the Zach Greinke deal. But they didn't know he'd be this good. He's hitting for power, he's stealing bases, and in center field he really takes a backseat to no one in this game. He made play after play after play last year in the postseason, and that's one of the reasons why he's playing with so much confidence these days.
Now Lorenzo in this ball game, single steal run scored. Part of the 5-run 5th inning as he cuts and misses 0-1. Alex Wilson goes back out there. Simon was knocked out in the 5th. Wilson came on to mop up.
I don't think I'd throw him anything but a slider. He's had a very difficult time of locating and picking up the slider today.
Yeah, he struck out in the 1st, struck out in the 3rd. Here's the 0-1. Drill to right field. Martinez gets over there, though.
Here is a Jimmy John's freaky fast delivery of the game. For the second consecutive game, Eric Hosmer has played long ball. That was a fastball that was up in the strike zone, and it was away from him, and he went with the pitch very nicely over the 410 sign, straightaway center.
Hosmer's home run is third of the year. And he takes a strike right at the knees.
One thing about Eric Hosmer, he does not get cheated in that batter's box.
No.
Man. He takes a healthy cut.
He struck out in his last at bat. He walked in his first at bat, and he looks at a strike. He is down 0-2 and didn't like that call from C.B. Buckner. Hosmer had 12 RBIs in the postseason last year, which was a Royals club record. Of course, they played so many games. I mean, they had to win the wild card game, and they did have a couple of sweeps, though. Angels and the Orioles to get to the World Series, and he left the strike zone there to strike out.
They really grew up in that wild card game, though, against the Oakland Athletics with John Lester on the mound for Oakland. They were down, I believe, at one point in time, 7-3 late in the game, and came back to win it, and then went on to win like 6 or 7 in a row after that.
Yeah, it looked grim in that wild card game. That is 8 strikeouts now for Tigers pitching tonight. Here's Morales, who nearly hit one out, an RBI double in the 5th inning off the gate and right. Kendry's last year splitting time with Minnesota and Seattle. Royals inked him to a 2-year deal in December. 1 ball, 1 strike. Eight runs on 12 hits for KC. No runs, 5 hits for Detroit. 1-1 is lifted in the air. Shallow center field. Rajay still coming. It's going to be a 1-2-3 inning for Wilson. 6 in the books here in Kansas City. All Royals tonight.
You say Chris Sale gave up 9 today?
Well, he got hit around. I know Dozier at the home run and gave up a big inning.
Oh,
that doesn't happen very often.
No, not a crooked spot like that.
Back here in KC where the Tigers are down by an 8 spot, 8-0. And it'll be Yoenis Cespedes starting things off in the 7th. He's followed by Castellanos and then McCann.
Most runs Chris Sale has ever given up. He gave up 8 earned runs tonight against the Minnesota Twins.
There's a ball inside.
Everybody kind of has one of those. Anibal Sanchez had one of those starts this year. David Price had one of those kind of starts this year.
Now Duffy with the 1-0 pitch. Cespedes fouls it back out of play.
Shane Green even had one of those kind of starts this year where they yielded a big crooked number. So it happens.
1 ball, 1 strike. Tigers tonight have been limited to 5 hits. Ground ball back up the middle, but they hadn't played nicely. Omar Infante throws high, and Cespedes is tagged out. Got him on the chest. A little bit of a tricky hop for Omar as well. 1 out, and that'll bring up Nick Castellanos. Single strikeout for Nick. Average at 240 right now. Duffy has been helped out by a couple of double play balls tonight. But the Tigers have had a few runners on base. Just have not been able to cash into this point. And Nick fouls it away 0-1. This again is the first of 4 this weekend here before the Tigers go to Chicago.
Did you say that they've got this place sold out for the next 3 days?
I did. Here's Albuquerque warming up. Yeah, standing room only Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, I mean, it's a good crowd here tonight, but should be rocking the next 3 days. Kyle Obstein tomorrow. The Royals, I don't think have officially announced, but Chris Young, I think, is going to throw for them tomorrow night.
I've heard that. Yeah, Wally Joyner told me that earlier. Chris Young pitched pretty well against the Tigers, last year for Seattle?
Seattle,
Yep, he sure did.
Here's the 0-2. Fouled away, look out.
So don't think for one moment that it's coincidence that he's here in Kansas City these days.
Oh, 2. 90 now for Danny Duffy. Three runs in the 3rd for KC, 5 in the 5th to go up 8-0. Here's the 0-2. Fouled away. Castellanos was 2 out of 7 of the series against the Minnesota Twins. Another hit here tonight. Here again is the 0-2. Ball high, 1-2 on Castellanos.
And Brett Ausmus gave Castellanos Monday off in Minnesota. Just a mental day off, some extra batting practice. Nick had been leaving the strike zone quite often. Had been swinging and missing a lot more than he had last year. So he gave 1 day off.
Just missed. Duffy wanted it, so did Perez. Nick appeared like he was going to take off. He had a 9-game hitting streak going, and all of a sudden the skids hit a little bit. Still a young hitter, still going through the ups and downs, but based on his track record in the minor leagues, Tigers know what kind of hitter he is. Swing and a miss. Well, there's another strikeout for Castellanos. 2 gone. 6 in the strikeout column now for Duffy. That'll be a season high in the strikeout category. I mentioned the Royals, although it probably, the way it's looking, it's not going to have a bearing on tonight's game. Unless the Tigers get the bats going here, but they're without their closer, Greg Holland, which has pushed Herrera up to the 8th, and it's pushed Wade Davis to their closer spot now. Ball 1 to McCann.
Yeah, both of those guys have electric arms, and Davis may have had the best year of any reliever last year in baseball. Any reliever.
He was what they call lights out. 1-0 pitch.
I don't think Davis gave up an extra base hit until August last year.
Man. Well, they rode that bullpen deep right into the playoffs, into the World Series. Very nearly pulled it off before they lost in Game 7 of San Francisco. Here's the 1-1. How much of the loss of James Shields do you think will have an effect on the Royals this year?
It's going to have an effect. I mean, anytime a guy goes out there with the leadership skills that Shields has and pitching 200 innings per year, winning 15 games, really leading a young staff, he's going to be missed.
Strike 3 called to the outside corner. McCann is caught looking. 7 Duffy strikeouts tonight. Tigers go in order. We go to the stretch as Albuquerque comes trotting in. Royals tonight, they lead 8-0. Danny Duffy, 7 innings, 5 hits, no runs with 7 punch-outs, and the Royals offense averaged 3.5 runs and almost 9 hits versus Detroit in 2014. Well, guess what? They've broken out tonight.
Yeah, different Royals squad this year, 2015.
Wallside windows pitching change. Albuquerque is on.
They've got to get Albuquerque going. Pitching in his 10th game right now, has a couple of holds. He's given up 8 runs already this year, but he hasn't had that great slider yet. Don't know why, but they got to get him straightened out.
Yeah, it's imperative. For as busy as he's been the last couple of years, used quite a bit by the Tigers. Been a bumpy start. He'll face Perez and then Infante. That's drilled to right field on a line, and JD runs it down. Perez hits everything hard.
Good player, man. Good player.
We'll bring up Infante. Omar does not have a hit. He is 0 for 3. Infante had a solid season last year. 6 homers, 66 driven in. And solidified a position which was kind of a revolving door in the past few years. That second base position.
Omar's had a really nice career. Spent some time in Atlanta, Florida with the Tigers. Made one All-Star team. He's carved out a really nice career. He was on that 2003 Tigers team that lost 119 games.
That he was.
That'd have made some quit.
Well, I don't know about that. The money's too good. Quit. I quit. 1-2 on Infante. Omar was also on that 2006 World Series team of the Tigers that made the World Series. Is that going to drop? Yes, it is. Cespedes made a sliding attempt, couldn't haul it in.
That ball in no man's land, if Iglesias can't catch it, it's not catchable.
So put another hit on the board for KC. 13 on the night for the Royals. That'll bring up Gerard Dyson. He's had a couple of hits tonight, both singles. Infield single his last time up, scored a run.
And made a really nice running catch in right field to take a double away from Ian Kinsler.
Strike one on Dyson. What's Slugger up to? Trying to get the crowd incited here. There's a soft line drive base hit. Another hit for Dyson. He's spraying it all around the ballpark tonight. That's his third hit.
Albuquerque giving up a lot of hits these days.
Here's Colon. RBI single in the 5-run fifth inning. Missed it outside. Royals have had to play through some injuries here early in the season. Despite that, they came in with 14 victories. Escobar's been out a couple of times, currently out. Told you Holland is out. Rios is out.
They've had some guys that have stepped up in the absence of the three.
2-0 on Colon. That's in there. 2-1. Yeah, certainly the Royals seem to be a little bit deeper this year. They've been able to weather some of those problems.
And then the starts that Kane and Hosmer, Moustakas, Perez are off to offensively have really picked up the slack.
3-1 on the former #1 pick or first-round pick, Christian Colon. Infante and Dyson on the bases. Here's the 3-1. Chopped to third base. Castellanos backs up. He'll fire to second. Relay to first, not in time. It was a difficult turn there for Kinsler.
Nice athletic play by Ian Kinsler. Not a great feed by Castellanos, but once Kinsler got there, he kind of had to readjust his feet, and he threw awkwardly after the slide of Dyson to try to get the double play turn. Dyson's got a lot of speed. He was right on top of Ian.
Kinsler made that a whole lot closer than I thought it would be.
He really came across the bag aggressively to make sure that Dyson couldn't get to him.
First and third down, 2 outs. Alex Gordon knocked in 2 with a single in his last at bat.
And after getting a look at that replay, that was not a bad feed from Castellanos. That was a good throw.
Gordon batting .364 with men in scoring position.
Well, you know, sooner or later the numbers are going to come down for these guys. I mean, because they're at numbers right now. Even though I do believe they're talented, I do believe they're good big league players, some of their numbers right now are just way too high.
Well, yeah, they'll level off. I mean, it's, I guess, the law of baseball. Here's the 1-1. 2-1 on Alex Gordon. MLB ranks for the Royals offense. Here's some of the numbers you talked about as a team. 301.
Wow.
360 on base percentage. Over 5 runs a game. Ripped to first and right at Miggy. So he hit it hard, but that'll take care of the Royals. Albuquerque gets through the 7th. Tigers baseball presented by Bell Tire.
Drive more balls the opposite way, and he made a bid for a double, but there was Gerard Dyson, who made an outstanding play and then tipped his cap to his pitcher, Danny Duffy, who's still out there.
Yeah, he's going out for his 8th inning of work. The Tigers down 8-0 in this ball game. They managed only 5 hits against Duffy. And Duffy will face Jose Iglesias to start things off. 7 strikeouts for Danny Duffy. Iglesias, Davis, Kinsler, 9-1-2. And the first pitch is lined to left center field. That's going to get down, split the gap, go all the way to the wall. Iglesias off to the races. He's going to hit the bag at second and go for 3. And Iglesias is in with a triple to start things off in the 8th.
Second triple of the year for Jose Iglesias. And four-seam fastball right down the middle, ripped by Jose Iglesias. Once it gets past Kane, he knows he's got 2, possibly 3. Once he gets to second, he just continues to motor toward third. Shutout now in jeopardy.
Here is Rajai Davis. And he takes strike 1. Davis 0 for 3 tonight.
Rajai hadn't had many offers this year. Usually when he plays, he contributes.
The 0-1 pitch. Davis lines one into left center field, a base hit. That'll get a run in. Tigers finally get on the board as Iglesias comes in to score. He ripped that one right by Colon.
And one of the things that Rajai has done a better job, he's hit much better with runners on base. Looked like a changeup laced right by the shortstop, Colon.
Duffy's night is done.
He'll get a nice round of applause, too.
That he will, as the Royals faithful, 28,000 plus on their feet. Royals go to the bullpen. left last night's game due to a tight left hamstring. And how about Jose Fernandez? He's starting to face some live hitting for the first time.
Well, the Miami Marlins will get a huge lift when they finally get Fernandez back.
And he's recovering, of course, from Tommy John surgery. And here is the new pitcher now for the Royals. That would be Jason Frazier.
Yeah, well-traveled Jason Frazier. Off to an outstanding start. Has not been scored upon this year. And this Royals bullpen, as good as the bullpen was last year, they've got some guys out there this season that are putting up fantastic numbers once again.
Royals bullpen leads the league in ERA. And you see the ranks this year are just outstanding. The bullpen ERA this year is 1.05. So Frazier comes on. And here is Ian Kinsler. Tigers have strung together a couple of hits. Triple by Iglesias, single by Davis. Ian is 0 for 3, although he had a double taken away in a fine running play by Dyson. Rajay has the oven mitt on. Duffy goes 7 plus 2 batters in this game. He gives way to Frazier. Ball way high, 1-0. Tigers up to 7 hits now on the scoreboard. Checked it high, 2 balls, no strikes. Last year was Frazier's first year in Kansas City. Began the year in Texas, and it was a longtime member of the Blue Jays bullpen. The 2-0. Way inside, spun him out of there. 3 balls and no strikes. That got Kinsler's attention. Frazier at one time was property of the Tigers when he first broke in. He was originally drafted by Detroit. Was then sent to the Dodgers. That's in there. 3-1 on Ian. Tigers finally get a run here in the 8th inning. They're down though 8-1. 1999 was when Jason Frazier was first drafted by Detroit.
He's carved out a really nice career for himself. 12 years in the big leagues.
Yeah, pretty good. Some nice years. Used a lot by Toronto out of their bullpen. There's a walk, and now the Tigers' first 3 have reached here in the 8th. And they will face the meat of the Detroit order. So Perez now walks out to the mound. Cabrera this year with men in scoring position, 409. C.B. Buckner now is going to head out to the mound to break up this little conversation. Here are some of the ranks this season in the American League for Miguel Cabrera. 30 hits is second.
Miguel Cabrera, as far as his on-base percentage is concerned, he's getting on base nearly half of the times that he goes to the plate.
And Cabrera looks at a strike, 0-1.
I didn't realize Frazier threw as hard as he threw that last fastball, 94. I thought he was right around 89 to 92. Reached back to get a little extra there against Miggy, who always gets the pitcher's best every night.
The 0-1 blocked by Perez. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tigers finally showing a little life here in the 8th inning as Duffy gave up the triple to Iglesias, the single to Davis. They quickly got him out of the game. He threw 101 pitches tonight and his way to Frazier here in the 8th, but then he walked Kinsler. And now dealing with the middle of the Tigers lineup. Here's the 1-1. We'll get back out of play. 1-2 on Miguel.
You're toast, man. Hey, Mick, you're toast.
Yeah, Miggy must have been sitting on that breaking ball from Frazier from their previous meetings, and he knew at some point in time he would get it, and he waited for it and got it and missed it.
Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss and struck him out. 92 up the letters. Cabrera's first down of the inning.
And Miggy doesn't leave the strike zone very often, but he left it that time.
That'll be 8 strikeouts for Royals pitching tonight. Going to bring up Victor Martinez. These are pretty good numbers.
And Victor's first at bat tonight, left-handed.
Couple of singles for Martinez. That has moved his average up to 234. 2 of the 7 Tigers hits in this game. And he spins away from strike 1. Victor this season has only 1 extra base hit, a double. Last year, career high in home runs. Frazier will step off now. There's action in the Detroit bullpen. Angel Nesbitt will be next to come in and pitch. Alfredo Simons started this ball game for the Tigers, was knocked out in the 5th inning tonight. They've had Wilson and Albuquerque since. Here's the 0-1. Kinsler at first, Davis at second. Now Frazier finally ready with the 1-1. Way high, 2 balls, 1 strike. Nobody else warming up in the Royals bullpen. They want Frazier to get through the 8th inning here.
And Frazier usually follows up the elevated fastball with the split-fingered fastball that he threw at the bottom of the strike zone to Victor a couple of pitches ago. Try to change the eye level of the hitter.
And the 2-1. Checked it. 3-1 on Martinez.
Victor did a nice job of laying off that split-fingered fastball.
Here's JD waiting on deck. Victor snapped it 0 for 11 with his first inning single off Duffy. Tigers had an early scoring chance in this game, 2 on in the first, but Duffy pretty much slammed the door the whole night. It was a high fly ball right center field. Dyson and Kane. Kane will make the catch. Second out of the inning. Fans, don't forget to follow the Tigers all season in 2015 with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment. with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and a whole lot more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or your tablet. 2 gone now for the Tigers here in the 8th. And J.D. Martinez will stroll in. A hitless night so far for J.D. A couple of punch-outs and a ground-out. Duffy seemed to have his number all night.
Yeah, he got J.D. tonight with a couple of really slow breaking balls.
Frazier missing outside. The Royals got Frazier back on July 16th last year, and after he joined the Royals, really good work in 23 appearances out of the bullpen, a 1.53 ERA, joining their already good bullpen. Checked it, but he went 1-1 on Martinez. Royals very soon, I think, will get another piece of that bullpen, and Luke Hochevar,
right,
who's coming back from injury.
A couple of years ago, he was spectacular before missing all of last year with Tommy John surgery.
Because they just don't have enough weapons in their bullpen. And Ned Yost waiting for his return. One and 2 on J.D. Martinez. In the 8th inning in Kansas City, game 1 in this 4-game series. The Royals jumped out to a 3-0 lead early and then added 5 in the 5th inning. They really haven't looked back tonight. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss. J.D. is out of there. Strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. Tigers will settle for 1 run. We go to the bottom of the 8th.
In game 1 of this 4-game series. A reminder to stay with us right after the game for Tigers Live. Mickey York and Craig Monroe are in the Coliseum studios, and I'll be heading into the clubhouse to chat with Brad Ausmus and Tigers players and get Alfredo Simon's thoughts on what was a rough night for him. Tigers Live right after the game, but Mario and Rod, back to you guys for now.
All right, Justin, thanks. Yeah, we have a little bit more work to do here tonight as Angel Nesbitt comes in now for Detroit.
Nesbitt's done well. He made the team for the very first time back in April. Fastball gets up to about 95. He's got a slider, got a 2-seamer.
And he's facing Mike Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain, and Eric Hosmer here in the bottom of the 8th. It is 8-1 in favor of the Royals.
He's going up against 3 real good hitters.
Nesbitt replacing Albuquerque, who surrendered a couple of hits but no runs in the 7th. The 0-1 is outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Big night for Moustakas. 2 hits, RBI double. He has scored a run. Nesbitt ready with the 1-1. Here it is. Inside, 2 balls, 1 strike. Alfredo Simon could not get through the 5th inning this evening. We're on the count to 3-1 now on Mike Moustakas. There's Cain waiting on deck. Here's the 3-1. We'll get back into the seats among the paying customers. 28,405 for game 1 here tonight. But as we mentioned several times in the broadcast this evening, they're expecting sellouts the next 3 nights here. Not to mention good weather. It's about 70, 72 degrees at game time tonight.
It's a gorgeous day today in Kansas City.
Here's the 3-2. Bouncing ball fair right on the bag or behind it as Cabrera hugging the line makes the play. And Moustakas is out, 1 gone here in the 8th. You don't like the 1,000% humidity we get here when we come in August?
Not at all.
No. It gets kind of warm. Here's Lorenzo Cain. Cain looks at a strike. Swing and a miss. Cain had trouble in his first 2 at-bats against Simon, struck out a couple of times, then he singled, stole a base, and scored a run.
You got to stay away from Lorenzo Cain. He's very dangerous on balls on the inner third of home plate. Not as dangerous on balls that are away from him.
Here's the 0-2. He stayed away. Did he go? Did not. So says Lance Barrett down at first base.
I'd go right back out there with that same pitch and to see if Cain can lay off the next one.
Nesbitt ready with a 1-2. Fouled straight back. Angel, somewhat of a surprise to make the ball club out of spring training. He just impressed so many people with his velocity and his makeup.
You just had a sense that he was going to make the team with everybody talking about him the way that they were 2 weeks into spring training.
And he struck him out at 96. It's one of the reasons why he's on this ball club.
We haven't seen that much this year, 96 out of Nesbitt.
Well, it's one of the things they talked about in spring training was his velocity, and he's got a good view of it there.
Nice, easy delivery.
Tigers pitching now with 9 strikeouts. Here's Eric Hosmer. Swing and a miss by Hosmer.
Outstanding pitch. Hosmer up there looking for that 96 too. And he threw him an off-speed pitch at 88.
Here's the 0-1. Little looper that'll get back into the seats. No balls, 2 strikes. So Nesbitt looking for a clean inning here in the 8th. Albuquerque did pitch a scoreless inning in the 7th, but he gave up a couple of hits. Hard hit ball ended the inning. Finnegan warming up, the left-hander. Now Nesbitt ready with the 0-2. And Hosmer takes it high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tigers in the 9th inning will have Cespedes, Castellanos, and McCann. There's the shift they play with Hosmer up there. Swing and a miss. Impressive inning for Angel Nesbitt. He strikes out 2. We go to the 9th. That is correct. Mick, thanks very much. We go to the 9th inning. 8-1 is our score here. Tigers have been out hit tonight 14-7 in the opener, and we've got a new pitcher on now. That would be Brandon Finnegan.
And Finnegan had an eventful 2014. He became the first player to participate in the College World Series and also the Major League Baseball's World Series in the same year.
Whoa.
He pitched his college ball at TCU.
All right. What a year it was for Finnegan. Hey, by the way, here's the upcoming matchup presented by Gordon Chevrolet. Tomorrow night, the Tigers will turn to Kyle Obstein against Chris Young.
Yeah, Chris Young, not a hard thrower. He will throw fastballs up in the strike zone. I think he's about 6 feet 9 inches in. He has a high release, and he'll try to get the Tigers to swing at elevated fastballs all night.
So it'll be Cespedes here in the 9th inning. Tigers down to their final 3 outs, and Finnegan rushes one up there at 94. 1 ball, no strikes.
How about going from in the month of June or July pitching in college and chilling and having fun to pitching on the biggest stage in the world just a few months later?
Yeah, you know, that is high pressure when you get to College World Series and all that kind of stuff. But, man, it's a different level, obviously, in the Big League World Series. He's 5'11", 185 out of Fort Worth, Texas. Only 22 years old. Brandon Finnegan joined the Royals on Friday from AA Northwest Arkansas. The 1-1 is a check swing, 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
They've got some arms in that bullpen. We've already talked about guys like Herrera and Davis. Holland is on the disabled list, but Finnegan is dialing up to 95. Now
the 2-1 coming home. Cespedes pops it up foul out of play.
Who was that we saw at home where everybody was throwing 95 and above out of the bullpen?
Yankees, wasn't it?
Yep, sure was.
Yeah, they had Miller coming out. They had Betances. They had a few other guys.
They did.
And it was pretty impressive. But I think it's really more impressive when you see lefties coming out of the bullpen, chucking it in there about 95, 96.
Yeah, he's flawless in save opportunities this year. Andrew Miller of the Yankees.
Here's the 2-2. Missed it high, and again mid-90s. 3-2 now on Cespedes. Castellanos waiting on deck. And he got him. Strike three. Cespedes walking back to the bench with an 0 for 4 tonight.
Pretty good fastball by Finnegan at 96 miles an hour.
One gone for Castellanos. That's an even 10 strikeouts now for Royals pitching. Castellanos 1 for 3. Nick pops it up in the air, shallow right field. Dyson on the charge, and makes a nice sliding catch out there in right field. Is he okay? He's laughing. I think he's a little bit more embarrassed about falling. Yep, got tangled up a little bit. Knees hit the turf.
Took a couple of steps back when the ball left the bat of Castellanos and really had to use his speed to come in and make that grab.
So there are 2 outs. Tigers down to their final out. James McCann will step in. His only hit tonight is single back in the 5th, batting .265. Swing and a miss. The Royals are 1 out away from regaining first place here in the early goings in the Central. All the way to the backstop, 1-1.
You got to be careful now. I know the Tigers have seen a couple of times that ball that on those pass balls, it gets back to the catcher. You got to be careful if you're running the bases.
Yeah, we saw that. Who was it? Cabrera?
Yeah. It was a wild pitch, went right through the legs of Perez, and it bounced all the way back to him, just like the last one.
Here's the 1-1. Bouncing ball to short should do it. Colon gobbles it up. Royals impressively tonight win game 1 in this early season showdown, 8-1.
Yep, I guess at least for game 1 they have shown the Tigers that they're here to play in 2015.
Finnegan able to put the finishing touches on it. Final score 8-1. Back with more.